Okay, I think we will begin. So, good morning. So, this is I have given one home assignment, and that is a small write up on stress strain curve for steel. You have to refer to number of books and write in your own words description about behavior of steel rod under action of tensile load. And you can take help of all the books. You do not have to copy exactly the words and sentences which are given in the book. You have to read and then write in your own words. The length can be anything, because you will have to draw some graphs, some figures. So, length can be up to anything from 5 pages to 10 pages, A4 size. Okay. So, that you submit it day after tomorrow, that is Thursday, and I have told you which are the books that you have to refer to. These are the two textbooks are there, plus you also refer to the book by Crandall, Mechanics of Deformable Solids by Crandall, you know that, and go to the library, see under how many books are there. You can get, that is the way to search. So, you should go to the library section and then see which are the books which are available, where it is given in a good manner. So, you read it and then write things in your own words. Okay. So, that is one part. So, okay. So, we have two things we have done. We have done first is equilibrium of the, and here we have derived stress equal to P by A by considering the equilibrium of a small portion of the body under the action of force. We have found out that yes, the average stress at a point P can be approximated by this simple formula P by A if it is subjected to tensile, axial, sorry, not tensile, it can be compressive also if it is, if the member is slender and if it is the member is subjected to axial load passing through centroid of the cross section. Next, we have studied strain displacement strain displacement relation. This is again very simplistic. For a simple system like this, you cannot have anything simpler than this, a simple rod subjected to axial load. So, we have found that yes, based upon geometrical consideration, there is a quantity which is a measure of deformation, that means change in length. Per unit length we are defining by a quantity which is, we call it strain epsilon, and that can be expressed by delta change in length divided by the original length. It is a dimensionless quantity. So, now this one is based upon purely mechanical considerations, that means forces, and this one is purely on geometrical. And third one I told you that yes, which is a very important, that is, it is a material. We will have to, we had not considered in these two the material, and now here we will consider material. We will test it, what is the material that the body is made of, and if you test it under tensile loading, then you can plot stress versus strain. And then, for example, for steel, the curve is something like this, it goes straight, there is a straight variation, then there is a slight hump, then there is a flat portion, then again there is small increase in load, and afterwards here it is rupture. This is rupture. I want you to study all this, and that is why I have given you. So, yesterday we were there in this diagram, and then this portion which is linear, that means the stress versus strain is linear variation. You have a constant slope, and this slope is denoted by a quantity which is called modulus of elasticity of the material, Young's modulus. This was the first person who did this experiment, is so it goes by his name, Young's modulus. So, this gives you some kind of a, that is what is the kind of material. Young's modulus is important, and we can relate now E. Third one. The third one is stress strain relationship. Stress strain it is also called constitutive relation of the material. It constitutive, what constitute the material? Law for the material, constitutive. What constitutes the material? So, we call it constitutive law for the material, and here we saw that yes, this, if you are within this linear zone, that means if you restrict your load only up to this point, then the stress is proportional to strain. So, this is given by this. Now, this experiment, this diagram that has been drawn, it is drawn for a special type of material which is called isotropic material. Isotropic. What is the meaning of isotropic? Material is isotropic. First of all, stress strain curve, I have already told you that definition of stress and strain is defined at a point. So, we are relating stress versus strain at some particular point. Although it may be same over a length of the member, but then our basic definition is always at a point. So, isotropic material is iso means same material properties in all directions at that particular point. No change in material property if you change the orientation of your member, isotropic. So, the material properties are same at that point irrespective of the direction in which it is tested. Okay. So, that is isotropic. Now, this is again the simplest material, you cannot have simpler than this. Now, another adjective that we normally use while describing our behavior, while describing our solid or the body, is that my body is homogeneous. What is the meaning of homogeneous? Homogeneity. Yes, homogeneous means again homogeneous, but that means material properties are same. That means now you have to consider a volume or area or something, So, that means material properties are same at each and every point in the body. So, isotropicity depends upon the point. At any particular point, properties are same in all the directions. Okay. And homogeneous means all the particles of the body, because there can be infinite number of particles which will make the entire body, is homogeneous, all have the same property. So, second one is homogeneous. So, it is a homogeneous. And there is another adjective which we normally use, which I have already described. Yesterday we discussed something about elasticity and inelasticity. As long as you are here, the behavior is reversible. You load it and then leave the load, it will become, it will come back to its original position. So, that is called elastic, and here this is a special elastic. So, we call it linear elastic. So, this behavior of the steel in this zone is linear. So, third one I will write, let me write on the next sheet. Linear elastic material. Why it is linear? Because the behavior is linear with respect to stress and strain. So, three things are, in fact, you will find now, because this is the beginning of this is the first course in solid mechanics, and all subsequent courses in mechanical, civil, aeronautical, chemical, materials, they have similar pattern. Basic course, this is the basic course for all the students. So, we say that whenever we say any material, the simplest material is homogeneous, isotropic and linear elastic. Not that every material will be like this, but then this is the ideal material, this is the simplest material that we can think of. So, that is why to derive the basic equations which describe the behavior of the body, it is much simpler to take this kind of material. Of course, in reality also you have this kind of, it is not that you do not have material of this kind. So, this is an ideal, ideal situation, and it helps us to derive our mathematical model, which describes the behavior of the body in a simple way. So, these three, by the way, I will just tell you something more about this curve, which I have asked you to read on your own. So, this point up to where it is linear, I think it is, of course, I also forget. Well, these are defined by different points. So, this one is, there is this point is important, then this top point is important, then after this point from where the flow starts of the material, that is important, and they are all at very close to each other. In fact, in most of the experiments you will find they will all be merged into one. Okay. You have to do the experiment very, very carefully. We have got a new machine which can depict this. So, try to see there, the behavior of the steel rod when it is being tested in the new machine. The old machine was, was not able to. So, for example, this one is called, the top one I remember is upper yield point. Then the lower one from where this material starts is lower yield point. This one is called elastic point. Up to here the material is elastic. The first point is elastic point, then upper yield point, then this is the lower yield point, from where we call this phenomena is called yielding. Material starts yielding, it starts flowing at a constant load, there is a lot of deformation. And this property wherein the material can take lot of deformation at constant load is called what? This phenomena or this property wherein the material does not fail, but it undergoes lot of deformation at constant load, at constant stress. Elastic, what? Plastic. No, plasticity is a general term, elastic and plastic. Ductility, material is ductile. This property of the material is called ductility. Ductility is material is ductile. That means it gives you warning before failure. Say, when you are doing the experiment, that is all right, it gives you, oh, the material has started flowing. So, that means failure is imminent and it is going to come soon. So, be prepared now for failure. So, ductility gives you warning. And so, ductile behavior is a good behavior. In fact, we want all our buildings, all our systems, all our machine foundations, machinery to have this property, ductility. Why? So that before failure, before anything happens, catastrophe happens, you have some warning. We would like to have our buildings to be ductile, okay? Not that suddenly it should fail without giving any warning. It should give enough, yes, people should come to know, yes, there is some problem, then they will vacate the building and then it will come down. Okay. So, ductility is a good behavior. So, steel is a ductile material, but for I am not going into the, I have given you already home assignment. So, you please read all these properties, phenomena, and so I am concentrating only on this linear elastic portion. Okay. So, these three steps that I have enunciated. Stress, that means stress has come, definition of stress has come from equilibrium. Then strain, definition of strain has come from the deformation of the body. That means you have taken 2 points within the body and then you have seen how does that length of that small, between the distance between 2 points are changing. And third one is the relationship between the two, and that is dependent on the material that is being used for the construction of that body. So, these are the three fundamental principles, I will say, of solid mechanics. Any solid mechanics must follow, must adhere to these three steps. Then only you can describe the behavior of that solid. That means equilibrium, strain displacement, and third one is constitutive relation. Without consideration of these three, you simply cannot describe the behavior of that body. So, these three are the basic principles of solid mechanics of solids, and we will see now how these are used. Okay. So, what are the kinds of, supposing there is a rod, a prismatic rod of length L, modulus of velocity, that means material. Now I will give you. So, its length is L, area of cross section is A, material constant is E. These are the three basic properties of this rod. One end is clamped. This is called clamping, clamp, fixed. How do you fix? Various ways by which you can fix the end. So, one end is, so this end is fixed. We use the word FIXED, clamped. There is another phrase also. How do you enforce this clamping? Somebody, I think last time, told you that there are a number of balconies in our buildings, balconies, and some portion balconies are mostly project outside the building. So, only one end is, so this is, you have clamped. Now, if this is the balcony, so this is your clamping. So, clamping means in the wall it has been fixed. In the wall the member has been inserted, your slab has been inserted, your beam has been completely. So, there is a phrase which is called encasted, N C-A-S-T-E-R-E-D, encasted in the wall, fixed in the wall, E-N-C-A-S-T-E-R-E-D, encasted in the wall, fixed in the wall, clamped in the wall, if you want to. So, okay, one end is fixed. So, end 1 is fixed, that is x equal to 0 is. So, at x equal to 0, what is the, tell me, clamping means what for this member, which is going to be subjected to an axial load. So, this is the axis, centroidal axis x, and we are going to subject this to some axial load, but then before you apply the load, you have to clamp it. You cannot apply the load before clamping, no meaning, you simply cannot apply. You clamp it, then only you can apply the load. First you fix the, now then this can stay like this, and this end is free, x equal to 0 is clamped, and x equal to L is free. What is the meaning of free and clamp? So, both these we will try to. So, here let us say that if there is a particle P inside the body, I mean this rod. So, that particle has a displacement along the axis which is u. So, u is a function of x, u is a displacement along x axis, okay, of any particle P. Now, in the cross section, because this is how we are studying, in the cross section all the particles will move by the same amount, is it not? Although we are applying a, so basically we are studying the behavior of a x axis, but the meaning is here is that all the, because this is the cross section is there, and you are applying the load at centroid. So, all cross section must move by the same amount u. So, u is the displacement. So, here we will say clamping means u at x equal to 0 is 0. You are fixing, you are not allowing that end to move in x direction. So, we write it like this, u x equal to 0, or you also write it simply u at 0 equal to 0, both mean the same thing, because u x, the value of x is 0. So, u 0 is 0. So, that is the meaning of clamping here. We are not allowing it to move along, because there is only one active displacement for this body along x axis. So, we are restraining that. So, u displacement has been restrained, is it clear? We are not allowing any u displacement. Now, free, when the end L is free, what is the meaning of free? Free means after you apply the load, now I will discuss this P. After application of the load, you will find that after some time this end and here you have a delta. There is a total displacement of delta of end, free end. So, what is the meaning of free? Free, at free end u is there, because if u is not there, delta cannot take place. free, we are not saying, we are not preventing you there, but what we are preventing, see on this surface, you tell me, what is, supposing I say that please draw what is the value of sigma normal stress at the free end x equal to L. How will you draw? At the free end, that means free end means this is the plane. What is this? Okay. Of course, a net force P has been applied. If you take a section just over here, just very close to this, then there will be some undulation, stress distribution will be not, it will be something like this. If you take a section over here, perhaps there will be a uniform distribution. What is the dimension? I told you that is what is the away from wherever loads are applied, you have stress concentration, and away from it, what is that distance? Lateral dimension, yes. So one diameter or one length of that. So it is uniform. So at free end, u is allowed, but then something else is there. Stress is prescribed here because of P, the load is there. This one is prescribed. You have a prescribed distribution of stress at free end. So here free end u is not equal to 0, and sigma is prescribed. I will simply write here sigma is prescribed. So I just wanted to bring in this concept that body, now my body, the rod is confined between 2 points x equal to 0 and x equal to L. So this is the domain of the body, this is the confine of the body is confined between x equal to 0 and x equal to L. So we call this length is the total dimension of the body, and these two ends are the boundaries. Okay, these two ends x equal to 0, so between these two ends the body is confined. So these two ends which confine the body, they are called boundary points. So these are the boundaries. So that means x equal to 0, this equal to x equal to L are boundary points, boundary sections, because there is a cross section here of some area, and these conditions which are there, these are called boundary conditions. Boundary condition. So for any body in a state of equilibrium that we are going to consider, a body is of some dimension, it will be subjected to some boundary conditions. Now for example, here this is simple boundary condition, and then it is stable. Once you prescribe the boundary, then it is stable. Without boundary, the location of the body is not defined. You cannot have a body moving in space in 3 dimensions, you must fix it. So boundary conditions must be prescribed. Once you have prescribed the boundary condition, the body is fixed, then you apply the load, and then under the application of the load, the body will deform. And then we study the behavior of the body under the action of the load, and this is the subject matter of mechanics of solids. So in mechanics of solids, we study the behavior of the body under the action of the load, but body must be fixed, must be prescribed. So this is, so it's clear now what is boundary condition, what are boundaries. Then to take the same rod, take the same rod and it is subjected to a load P at x equal to L, and we are interested in finding out this delta. How to do it? Let us try to study this. So, away from this load, supposing you take this cross section, you have a stress distribution sigma, and sigma is given by P divided by A, because this is P, because this is in state of equilibrium. So, P into A, sorry, sigma into A, area is cross section, sigma is defined as per unit area, a quantity which is force per unit area multiplied by this must balance P. So, this is equilibrium. Then you take 2 points here, P and Q, and then afterwards what happens, these P will move to P dash and this Q will move to Q dash. So, original length was this much and final length is this. PQ is the original length between 2 points which are very close to each other. So, let the distance between PQ be delta x, original length, this is delta x, and after the distance between P dash, so this is PQ and P dash Q dash, it has changed. So, delta x has undergone a change and let us call that as delta x plus u. So, we have also we have done this, that yes, strain is given by change in length divided by. So, we know that a quantity strain can be defined as change in length strain at this point P is change in length, that is P dash Q dash minus P Q divided by P Q, and that is U divided by delta x. Now, if you assume that the strain is, the stress is uniform except near the ends, see these are the points of stress concentration, where the boundary and then near the load. Wherever loads are applied, there will be stress concentration, and then wherever the load is registered, that is the boundary condition, boundary points, again those are stress. Remaining portion is more or less uniform. So, stress distribution will be uniform here. So, for that it is, so if you just whatever formula that we are deriving, they will not be valid in this zone and this zone, it will be valid in this. So, then we have, so on an average you can also say that this is equal to the total change is. So, I can also say yes, if you take a uniform strain, whole distribution is, barring this d, one d you remove here, one d you remove here, which we are neglecting. So, it will be this, and third one is we have already derived that E equal to sigma by. Now, let us try to see whether we can get anything out of this, these three, in order to obtain the change in the length of the rod. So, E is stress strain, and stress is given by P by A, and strain is given by delta by L. Approximate. So, what is this? And therefore, so we have got a simple formula which will give us the deformation of the a rod which is subjected to an axial load. P can be compression or tension. Even if you have this, yes, it will remain the same, except that the stress at each and every point will be of a what kind of stress? Stress is positive or negative, because if you take any element here, always draw a small element. So, you will find that the stress on this element will be like this. I have taken a delta x element under this load. Why it should be like this? Because if I draw this from here to here free body diagram of this, so it is like this. This must be resisted by this kind of distribution, and from Newton's third law on the cut section there must be equal and opposite force. Then in order to keep this small element in equilibrium, there must be distribution like this, and this is what it is being compressed. So, this we call it negative. Compression is normally denoted by a negative sign before it. So, this is compression. Or compressive stress. The other one is called tensile stress or under tension. Is it clear? See, under tension, if you take the same element, a small delta x element will be subjected to stress distribution like this. It is being pulled. So, each particle will try to separate from each other, while compression they are trying to come closer, you are compressing. So, this one is denoted by a sign plus tensile. Okay. Now, in this discussion we have assumed that the rod is weightless, is it not? Nowhere the density of the material has come in the picture. So, we have taken a rod, we have fixed it, and then we say that we apply a load. So, there are two ways of expressing this. One is it is weightless, or the weight of the rod is very small compared to the applied force P. So, we are neglecting it. Weight, the density is so low that it can be neglected. The error involved will be small. Of course, that has to be proved, but here this is why. So, in most of the problems that we will be solving, not that everything is right. You see, these are all ideal problems. We will be assuming in most problems, there will be some where we will take the density, but in most problems we will be assuming that the mass density of the material is small, and it can be neglected compared to the applied loads on it. Okay. So, force is much larger than But now you have got a very simple formula. Did you know this by the any chance? Did you know this formula? So now if you have a rod, simple rod, and it is subjected to tensile or compressive load, you have a simple way of finding out the elongation. So you have a rod, let us say a rod which is hanging. Now it so happens that it does not matter whether the cross section is square, triangular, trapezoidal, as long as so this, if it is applied by, this is weightless, it is hung from the top and there is a load that is put, modulus of elasticity of the material. So what you need is few things that you need. You need area of cross section, this cross section, area of cross section, you need length L, this defines the geometry. After defining the geometry, you need the boundary condition. So top one is fixed, bottom one is free, and there is load is applied. And then you also need the material. Material means is defined by material constant, Young's modulus. So it is a linear material, and the material is what? Three properties. Material is homogeneous, that means each particle in the entire here, everywhere it has the same property. Then isotropic, second one, and third one is linear elastic. So these three properties will always come. Material is homogeneous, isotropic, and linear elastic. Third thing that will come is again some people have started on this side. Third thing that will come is, yes, that we are doing this. See, if the length of the member is L, the delta normally will be very small compared to the length. That means this ratio will be really small. Okay. Change in length, you will find that means displacement that it produces, the load produces. So we are talking of a small deflection. Not that if you have a rod of length L and it will undergo a deformation of L plus L by 2. So it becomes 50%, no, because in that case material perhaps will not be under linear elastic. Okay, material will not be under linear elastic zone. Second one, so it is a small deflection. So we are considering a small this is very important. So in addition to the three properties which I have told you, always remember material is elastic, linear elastic, don't say just elastic, say linear elastic, homogeneous and isotropic, and then we are considering small deflections, because otherwise this will not be valid. And what is the consequence of small deflection? Because if it is not a small deflection, see, we have considered the equilibrium of the body, that means when we cut it here, did we consider deformed body or undeformed body? This is what? This is the free body diagram of the bottom portion. This is deformed or undeformed? Tell me. This is the free body diagram of this portion. P is acting and then this is sigma. Okay. Is this deformed or undeformed? Undeformed. So we are considering equilibrium under undeformed condition. We are not considering deformation of the body. We are not considering deformation of the body in our equilibrium consideration. Since we are not considering, that means the displacements are small. Deformations are, by the way, deformation and displacement, what is the difference between the two? You should try to think about it, and because body is deformed means its shape and size changes, and displacement, the displacement of the free end is this much. Is there any, both mean the same thing, or is there any difference between the two? Okay, we will stop here for so please think about what is deformation and what is displacement, and then there is slight change.